let's check out how to divide a decimal by a whole number. And we're going to do this in two parts. First, I'm going to show you the process and how it works. Then, in the second half of this video, I'm going to show you why the process works. So if after the how, you're totally cool, then you can shut the video off. But if you're like, ooh, you know, I could understand that why, I think that'll help me really master this, then watch the second part of the video where I really go over the why behind it. It's pretty cool. And we do this with a word problem. So let's check it out. So first things first, we take a look at this and it says 5 tickets to an amusement park cost $189.90. How much is the cost of each ticket? All right, well, let's think about this. If I have a total of $189.89 and I want to know how much this thing costs per ticket, well, then what I do is I take this and I divide it into 5 equal parts. The cost for each one of the 5 pieces that needs to be broken into. So how do I do that mathematically? Well, I take 189.90 and I divide that by 5. Now, how do we do this out mathematically? Because now the word problem has been translated. We want to focus on the math. Well, to do this one out mathematically, I take 5 and I divide it into 189.90. And as far as a process goes, and I'll erase this so we have a little more space. As far as a process goes, we want to make sure that this decimal point in what's called the dividend lines up with the decimal point in the quotient. That's a big piece of the puzzle. And then we're going to go into this like normal old long division. So 5 goes into 1. It doesn't go into 1 at all. So you could think of that almost like a 0 in the hundreds place. Well, so now we have 0 times 5 is 0. And we drop down the 1 and bring down the 8. So 5 goes into the 18 how many times? Well, 5 goes into 18 3 times. Now I like to put that 0 there, but technically in your answer it's not going to be there. I just like that to hold its place. So now I have 3 times 5 is 15. And 15 subtracted from 18 is 3. Well, now that we have that 3, we bring down the number from the tens place and figure out how many times does 5 go into 39. Well, 5 times 7 is 35, 5 times 8 is 40, so 8 is too big, it goes into it 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. So now we've got 35 subtracted from 39, and we've got 4. Well, now we're going to drop down that 9. Now notice here, that decimal place, we're really looking at how many times 5 goes into 49 tenths at this point. So 5 goes into 49, just shy of 10 times, so 9 times. And if you think about that, that makes a lot of sense that that's in the tenths, because again, this is 49 tenths. And that's why the decimal place needs to line up nicely between the dividend and the quotient. 9 times 5 is 45. We subtract 49 minus 5 is 4. Drop down the 0 that we have there. And so now we have how many times does 5 go into? Technically that's 40 hundredths. Well, that goes into it 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. We subtract, and that 0 tells us that we have no remaining values to divide out. So we are done at that point. And that is a little bit of a how to divide a whole number into a decimal. And when we erase that, we see that the cost per ticket is $37.98. Stick around and I'll go over this next part, which is how to do out this problem with more of a tilt along the lines of why the process works the way it does. I'm pumped for it. So in that last clip, we went over how to divide 5 into $189.90 or 189.9 evenly. Well, that was the process, and I'm going to kind of dive into it a little bit deeper now into why it works the way it does and analyze what it was that we did and kind of take a little bit of side work over here to explain what it is that makes all of this stuff work so well. Let's check it out. So first things first, we said 5 goes into 1 0 times. And then we subtracted 18 minus 0. Why does 5 go into 1 0 times? Well, what we're really saying is how many hundreds go evenly when divided by 5. So what does that mean? Well, I've got 100 divided into the 5 parts. How many hundreds divide evenly? None, because we only have 100. that can't be divided into more hundreds. And that's why we have no number in the hundreds place. Pretty cool. And so the reason why we're subtracting is we still have a full 180 or 18 tens remaining to be divided. We've yet to divide any of that up. So we say 5 goes into 18 tens. So literally, it's like you're doing a little bit of side work here and saying, how many times does 5 go into 18 tens? Well, we can split 18 of anything when divided by 5 into 3 parts. We can't have 4 parts with 5 in each. That would give us 20. So we can do 5 into 18 3 times, right? Not 2, 3 times. And that gives us 3 tens, or 30. Pretty cool. And so we put the 15 down here because 3 times 5 is the 15 tens that we've accounted for. And we subtract to figure out how many tens do I have left that have yet to be evenly divided. So 3 of them. Then we carry down the 9. And when we carry down that 9, that's really to say, okay, we're now looking at the ones place and how many ones total we have left. So since we had 3 tens and another 9 ones, we have a total of 39 ones. So now you're looking at it and saying 39 divided by 5, which is not an even number, but 5 goes into 39 7 full times. Okay, so that's where the 7 comes from. So 7 times 5 is the 35 ones that we've now accounted for, leaving us with 4 ones remaining, and we can't then divide 4 ones evenly into 5 ones, well, because there's only 4 of them, right? So we then bring down this 9, which notice is the tenths. So we bring that down and say, okay, I've got 49 tenths divided into 5 parts. And this is the key part of why the decimal place lines up. I now have 49 tenths, which means that any number that I get out is the number of tenths that I have. And that's why our next number will line up here in the decimal spot. So 5 goes into 49 9 times. And that's a perfect 45 tenths that we've accounted for. We subtract from the 49 tenths the 45, and that leaves us with 4 tenths remaining. We carry down the 0 to now see that we have 4 tenths, or, since that doesn't divide evenly into 4 tenths, 40 hundredths. All right, well, how many times does 5 go into 40 hundredths? There are 8 hundredths in each of those, or 8 in the hundredth spot. 8 times 5 is 40. We subtract them to see that we have 0 thousandths, 0 hundredths, 0 of anything remaining, and so we've now successfully divided the original number by the divisor that we started out with. So I hope that helps you to see that all of the decimal places line up nicely because of the number of tenths, ones, tens, hundredths, whatever it is that we're dividing by. It's almost like we're doing lots of little mini questions as we go along. I find it really awesome why this works. If it helps, great. If not, the how in the beginning of this video, I hope, was very helpful. I know I had a lot of fun making it.